So usually when we talk about true crime, we're talking about a heist.
Right. Like a mastermind and a getaway car.
Exactly. A mastermind, a bank vault, some bad guys who absolutely know they're breaking the rules. But today, we're looking at a completely different kind of mystery.
Yeah, one where the person committing this massive financial disaster,
Hmm.
uh, they have basically no idea they're even doing it.
Right. So I want you to imagine a scenario. Let's say you've started a successful limited company. Maybe it's a design agency, right?
Pretty.
And you poured your life savings into getting this thing off the ground. A few years in, it's doing okay, but you suddenly need like a chunk of cash for a personal expense.
The roof on your house needs fixing or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or maybe you just want to take a draw before the official dividends are paid out at the end of the year. So, you dip into the company accounts. I mean, you built the place. It's your company, so it's your money.
Right. Well, it definitely feels like your money. I mean, you own all the shares, you do all the work, but legally, making that assumption is sort of the exact moment you step right into a massive financial trap.
And it is just terrifying how common this trap is. Welcome to our deep dive into the hidden landmines of running a business. Today, we are focusing on something called the director's loan account trap.
It's a big one.
It really is. We are drawing from the first chapter of this book, The Complete Guide for Company Directors, which is published by a UK business support provider called Insolvency and Law.
Yeah, they really lay it out clearly.
They do. So our mission today is to figure out how perfectly well-meaning people, like our hypothetical agency owner, accidentally become massive debtors to their own failing businesses.
Right. And how this legal shield that's supposed to protect them ends up being the very thing that ruins them.
The mechanics of how this happens are just, well, they're fascinating because they are so subtle.
Very subtle. You're looking at a situation that quietly spirals out of control in the background of just, everyday business operations.
Yeah.
And we are going to walk through that terrifying moment of realization. When a company faces insolvency and a liquidator knocks on the director's front door to basically claw that money back.
So let's start by tracking the money in our design agency scenario. Because to understand why this destroys businesses, we have to look at the instrument itself, right? The director's loan account, or the DLA.
The DLA, yeah.
From my reading of the materials, this isn't like some complex financial derivative. It's basically just a running ledger of cash moving back and forth between the company and the director.
That is exactly what it is, just an internal accounting mechanism. I mean, think back to the start of your hypothetical agency.
Okay.
You inject, say, $20,000 of your own personal savings to buy computers and rent office space.
Right, to get things going.
Exactly. So the company now owes you $20,000. That goes on the director's loan account as a credit balance. The business owes you money.
And I can take that back tax-free whenever the company actually has the cash, right?
You can, but the pendulum swings both ways.
Ah, okay.
If you start withdrawing more money from the company than you initially put in,
Mm-hmm.
or more than your officially declared salary and dividends, that ledger flips.
The account goes into the red.
Right. It becomes overdrawn. So the director now owes money back to the company. And when you look at the data on failing businesses, you realize this almost never happens because a director decided to, loot the corporate treasury.
It happens through mundane stuff, everyday shortcuts.
Exactly.
Like using the company card to pay for a personal flight because it was just convenient at the time.
Yeah.
And you figure, oh, I'll just reconcile the books later.
Or taking drawings early because you just sort of assume the profits are coming next quarter.
Right. Right.
Or even just, honestly, poor record keeping. You might have mixed business and personal expenses on the same credit card.
Oh, that happens all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
And at the end of the year, the accountant can't figure out what certain receipts were for, so they just lump them into the director's loan account. And suddenly, boom, you owe the business a substantial amount of money.
Wow. Okay, so if I see that I owe my own company money, my very first instinct would be to just quietly write it off on the books.
Oh, sure. Make it disappear.
Yeah, make it disappear before anyone notices. It's internal math, so I'll just change the math.
You could certainly try that, but that is exactly what triggers a massive penalty from the tax authorities.
Really?
Oh, yeah. We have to look at the underlying mechanism here. Why does the tax man care about an internal loan?
Right. Why do they care?
Because if you could just, quote-unquote, borrow money from your company indefinitely and eventually write it off, nobody would ever pay themselves a proper salary.
Oh, right. You would just take endless tax-free loans from the business to fund your life and completely bypass income tax.
Exactly. So the government treats an overdrawn director's loan account, especially one that gets written off, as disguised remuneration.
Disguised remuneration.
Yeah. If you try to write off that loan, it's immediately treated as personal income. You will be taxed on it as if it were a dividend or a salary bonus. And it gets worse. The company might also face heavy tax penalties for lending it to you in the first place.
So it's basically like running a bar tab at a local pub.
Okay, I like that.
You walk in, you put a few drinks on the tab, you think nothing of it, you assume you'll settle up at the end of the month, right? But the tab just sits there, quietly growing on the balance sheet while you think everything is totally fine.
And the dangerous part of that bar tab analogy is the psychological hurdle it creates for business owners.
Right, because if I am the owner of this pub, my brain tells me I am just drinking my own beer.
Exactly.
Like, why does it actually matter if I run up a tab with myself?
Because legally, you are not drinking your own beer.
Okay, explain that.
This leads us to the most dangerous misconception we see in corporate finance. It's the illusion of absolute ownership. The whole idea of, it's my company, so it's my money.
But wait, if I am the sole director, right?
Right.
And I own like 100% of the shares in this design agency, how is it not my money? I mean, I am the company.
Well, in the eyes of the law, you're just not. You and the company are two completely distinct legal entities.
Okay.
A limited company is its own legal quote-unquote person. When you buy shares in a company, you own the shares.
Right.
You do not own the cash of the company's bank account. You don't own the computers on the desks or the inventory in the warehouse. The company owns those assets.
That feels incredibly counterintuitive. I mean, why set up the corporate legal system this way if it just creates this psychological trap for small business owners?
Well, to encourage entrepreneurship through limited liability.
Oh, okay.
That legal separation is actually designed to be your ultimate protection. Think about what happens if your design agency signs a massive office lease and then the economy tanks and the business fails.
Right, we go under.
Because the company's a separate legal person, the landlord can only sue the company. They generally cannot come after your personal house, your personal car, or your kid's college fund to settle the company's debts.
Oh, wow. So the debts belong strictly to the corporate entity.
Yes, the company's debts are the company's debts. But the flip side of that protective shield is that the company's money is the company's money.
It goes both ways.
Exactly. You cannot have it both ways. You cannot demand the legal separation to protect your house from the company's creditors, but then completely ignore that same legal separation when you want to use the company's cash to pay for a personal holiday.
The ultimate aha moment here is that the shield works both ways. Like, you cannot pierce it from the inside without consequences.
And the moment you pull cash out of the business without putting it through the formal payroll or dividend process, you are piercing that shield. You are taking money that belongs to a separate legal entity.
Even understanding that, it still feels like something a professional would catch, you know?
You'd think so.
Yeah, if I'm running this agency and casually drinking my own beer, so to speak, wouldn't my accountant raise a red flag? We sort of tend to view accountants as our financial guardians. If I'm building up a dangerous loan, shouldn't they stop me?
Relying on your accountant to save you from an overdrawn loan account is a massive and very common mistake.
Really?
Yeah. Accountants provide invaluable advice, but you have to understand how they operate. For most small businesses, the accountant is basically doing an autopsy once a year.
An autopsy. Wow.
Yeah, they look at your books months after the transactions have already happened to prepare your annual tax returns. They aren't sitting at your desk monitoring your daily cash flow.
So they just see the mess of receipts at the end of the year and classify the missing cash as a director's loan because they legally don't know what else to do with it.
Precisely. And furthermore, the ultimate responsibility, what the law calls your fiduciary duty, lies entirely with the director.
Let's define that. Fiduciary duty.
It basically means you have a strict legal obligation to act in the best financial interest of the company.
Okay.
Not your own financial interest, the company's. You cannot outsource your fiduciary duty to your accountant.
Got it.
If you drain the company's working capital to fix your house, and the company later can't pay its suppliers, you violated your duty. You cannot use the defense, well, my accountant didn't tell me to stop. Silence is not approval.
Which brings us to the most critical part of this entire situation.
The downturn.
Exactly, the downturn. Let's go back to Sarah, our hypothetical agency owner. She's run up a huge tab with her own company over 3 years.
Right.
She incorrectly assumed it was fine because she owns the place. Her accountant just logs it on the balance sheet at the end of every year. Then the agency loses its biggest client.
The worst case scenario.
Yeah, revenue just dries up. The business can't pay its rent or its tax bill. What happens when the trap snaps shut?
This is where those theoretical legal concepts become brutally real.
Okay.
When a company is trading normally insolvent, that overdrawn account is just a line item on a spreadsheet. It's a quiet IOU between you and the company you control.
Right.
But when the company hits financial distress and goes into formal insolvency, meaning it cannot pay its debts as they fall due, everything transforms.
Because Sarah loses control of the business.
Completely. The law requires that an independent insolvency office holder, known as a liquidator, step in.
Enter the liquidator.
Right. And here is the vital shift. The liquidator's statutory duty is not to the director. It is not to the shareholders.
Okay. Who is it to?
Their duty is solely to the company's creditors, the landlords, the suppliers, and the tax authorities who are owed money.
So the liquidator is essentially a forensic accountant and a debt collector rolled into one.
Very much so.
They are tearing through the company's books, trying to find any scrap of value to sell off and pay back the people the company owes. And they look at the balance sheet and they see an asset, a massive debt owed to the company by the CEO.
Yes. The liquidator has a strict legal obligation to claw back all company assets, and that overdrawn loan account is a recoverable asset.
Oh, man.
It is no longer a quiet internal IOU. It becomes the target of a formal, aggressive legal pursuit.
It's like hiring a debt collection agency to liquidate a failing business. And they walk into the office and realize the company's single biggest debtor is sitting right there in the boss's chair.
Exactly.
You essentially become the target of your own failing company's debt collection.
And this is the terrifying reality that financial investigators see all the time. Thousands of directors have this hidden liability sitting on their balance sheets, completely unaware of its true significance until it's too late.
Wow.
The liquidator will demand that you repay that borrowed money personally out of your own pocket so they can distribute it to the creditors.
The ultimate irony is that the limited liability shield you set up to protect yourself from the world is the exact weapon the liquidator uses to protect the company from you.
That is the perfect way to frame it. The liquidator is just enforcing the separation of the entities. You took the company's money, now the company needs it back.
But let's be realistic here. If Sarah's agency is going under, her personal finances are probably stretched to the absolute breaking point too.
Oh, absolutely.
She probably hasn't paid herself a proper salary in months just trying to save the business. If the liquidator demands $50,000 that she took over the last 3 years and she simply doesn't have it, what happens?
Well, the liquidator has the power to pursue you through the courts.
Oh, no.
Yeah, if you cannot repay the overdrawn loan account, they can take legal action that could ultimately lead to you losing your personal assets, including your home, or facing personal bankruptcy.
That's terrifying.
It is. The protective shield of the limited liability company was bypassed the very moment you overdrew your loan account without the means to repay it.
That is incredibly bleak. But looking at the source material, there is a way to navigate this, right? It's not just an inevitable apocalyptic scenario.
No, it's not.
The crucial variable here seems to be time.
Time and timing are absolutely everything. There's a very distinct line in the sand during a company's decline. There's the period before formal insolvency proceedings begin and the period after.
Let's focus on the before. Let's say Sarah is looking at her accounts. She sees the massive debt she owes the company, and she sees that the business is struggling to pay its upcoming bills.
Right.
She hasn't defaulted yet, but the writing is on the wall.
Before formal insolvency begins, the director retains control of the company's affairs. You are still in the driver's seat.
Okay, that's good.
During this window, you have leverage and options. You can explore real-world commercial solutions.
Like what are the actual options if you owe a failing company money?
Well, you might be able to negotiate a time-to-pay arrangement with the tax authorities, which gives the business breathing room to trade its way out of trouble.
Okay, that makes sense.
You could also look at corporate restructuring or securing external financing to inject cash back into the business, which clears your loan account and pays the creditors.
Right.
You could even place the company into voluntary administration. That freezes creditor actions while you and a professional try to rescue the core business.
But to use any of those options, you have to actually acknowledge the problem while you still have control.
Exactly.
Which brings us to the specific mistakes directors make when they are in this precarious window. If we analyze the behavior of directors facing insolvency, Ignoring the balance sheet is usually step one.
Ignoring the problem is the most common, and honestly the most fatal mistake.
Yeah.
Directors see the overdrawn account, feel a sense of panic, and just bury their heads in the sand, hoping a miracle client will sign next week and fix the cash flow.
It's the assumption that future profits will magically wipe out past debts. I'll pay it back later.
The classic wait-and-see approach.
Yeah.
Business circumstances are deteriorating, but the director convinces themselves it's just a temporary dip.
Right.
By waiting, they burn through the remaining cash reserves, and by the time they finally admit defeat, the company has nothing left. The options for restructuring are gone, and liquidation is the only path forward.
I imagine another huge mistake is trying to play favorites with who gets paid. Like, if I know the ship is sinking, I might try to pay back the suppliers I actually like.
Oh, yeah.
Or pay off a bank loan that I personally guaranteed while leaving the tax authorities with nothing.
That is called creating an illegal preference.
Ah, okay.
If you pay off certain creditors to protect yourself or your friends while knowing the company is insolvent, a liquidator will reverse those transactions anyway, and you will face severe penalties for breaching your fiduciary duty.
So, to make this crystal clear for anyone listening who might be looking at a messy balance sheet right now, sitting down with a professional to figure out just how deep in the red your loan account is, that isn't admitting defeat.
No, it is the exact opposite of defeat.
It doesn't automatically trigger bankruptcy. It is keeping your hands on the steering wheel.
Yes. Awareness is the difference between having options and having fewer options.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding your financial position early doesn't commit you to shutting the business down. It simply buys you the time you need to get independent legal and tax advice. It allows you to make informed, strategic decisions before a liquidator is appointed to make those decisions for you.
It's wild how quickly a simple convenience can become a catastrophe just through a lack of understanding. Let's recap the journey we've been on. We started with the director's loan account, which in its purest form is just a harmless way to track money moving between a director and their business.
Right. But it becomes toxic, specifically because of that fundamental misunderstanding of it's my money and it's my company.
The bar tab you keep pouring for yourself, forgetting that the pub is actually a separate legal entity.
Exactly.
And then the trap turns lethal when the company struggles, insolvency hits, and a liquidator uses the law of separate legal entities to demand that money back personally from you.
The ultimate takeaway for anyone managing complex finances is that accurate records, an understanding of your legal obligations, and timely professional advice are the absolute foundations of commercial survival. An overdrawn loan account is not an automatic crisis, provided you actively manage it.
Yeah.
Ignorance just hands your options over to a liquidator.
It really forces you to reevaluate the stories we tell ourselves about the things we own. Which leaves me with a final thought for you to mull over as we wrap up this deep dive.
Okay.
We've just explored how smart, capable entrepreneurs accidentally fall into massive, life-altering debt to their own companies simply because they misunderstand the legal concept of ownership.
Right.
It makes you wonder how much of our everyday financial decision-making in our careers, our personal lives, our investments is based on comfortable assumptions rather than actual legal reality. Until next time, keep digging and mind your bar tab.